Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fizel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. That's Central Time, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. It's always such a pleasure to be with you. I know you could be doing anything else, but you're hanging out with us, and we definitely appreciate that. You can find us on the radio at iacradio.media, where we are Fox News affiliates. You can also find us on television, Channel 182 Charter Communications, Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. It's a wonderful place. It's a great, great podcast. And I appreciate the guys letting me actually have a voice in this podcast. I think it's a great thing. You know, this guy right here, Bud Cornwell, you have your own podcast there as well, right?
I do, at the newscaster. Same thing. It's called the Patriot Cause. And I'm on any of the different apps. So you can listen both ways. Go to newscasters or Apple, Google, whatever.
Yeah, it's a good thing because right now we've got a voice. And I think that's pretty awesome that we can feel the freedom to say what we want to say especially on this newscaster studio. It's just a great, great thing to have. You know, you and we've been friends for a while, and we feel that I think almost 100%. I think we probably believe the same way, the same things. But there's a new way that people are trying to govern us. And I want you to go on ahead and start talking about that right now, because I'd never really thought about this particular way, but it's true.
Yeah, absolutely. I was listening to, I don't know if it was Dan Bongino or one of the other shows, talking about, the interesting how the elites in this country are using, specific words and titles and to put out the propaganda about our country, right? And we know it's just fake news because it's not true. But if you say it enough and you do it enough, then you start convincing people that it is true. And this is the absolute way that communists do this. This is how they take control of a country. And the first thing we have to understand is America has been so strong for so many years. This is the hardest country in the history of the world for them to take over. But they don't give up. Now what they're doing, which I think is very interesting, is they're like they always do. They what is called flipping the coin, right? Mm-hmm. Putting what I'm doing on the other side. They're saying they're doing it, but no, you're the one that's actually doing it. Mm-hmm. And one of those things is what they call an autocrat, right? And if you look at the dictionary, what an autocrat is, it's a individual ruler. That's what the dictionary says it is, right? Mm-hmm. And then you use words like monarchy, tyranny, individual power. So this is what the word actually means. However, what I think they're doing is very simple. Instead of to a person, which they do with Donald Trump, because they're convinced that he's a tyrant. They're convinced that he wants to do fascism, whatever words they use. But here's what is actually happening. Instead of having a single individual ruler, what they're doing is they're actually using a political party, the whole party, to be the ruler. So their idea is to use that political power, not a power of an individual, which is for instance, Mussolini, great example, right? Mm-hmm. He took over Italy. He took control of it as an individual. That is prime example of fascism, tyranny, do what I say or die. Well, now it's different in the United States because there's no way, I really believe this because of our Constitution and what we do, that an individual person could actually be a ruler of America. It's impossible because of the checks and balances and all that. Mm-hmm. So what they have figured out, let's just use the political power of this party. Now remember the words socialist Democrat or Democrat socialist.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. You can't put those two words together. But this is what they do, right? Mm-hmm. Now they've gotten even further. Now they're all in together, just like all communists. Communists use this collective idea, right? Mm-hmm. And the Democrats have been proving that over and over again, especially voting, because they vote as mass. You know, it doesn't matter what you think as an individual, you fall in line with the party. Mm-hmm. Well, they're doing the same thing with their idea of changing America. They don't care what the Constitution is. This is what we're going to do, and you can't do anything about it because we are now the rulers. That's what's happening. And
you will like it. It's
and
kind
you won't own anything.
So we talk a lot on my show about narcissists. Some of the
right.
The most emails I get probably are people who say, I feel like this is not our government. Some people think they have families that are narcissists. But what they do is they use a technique called gaslighting.
Yes.
Like, no, I didn't really say that. When you don't, they did. I mean, it's on a recording and it's not a sound bite. How do they do that? How do they get by with it?
It's a skill, first off. I'm going to use an example. It's a great example of the power of what is called gaslighting. So, for instance, if you have a male and a female, it could be married, it could be living together, whatever. And it doesn't matter. The male can do it or the female can do it. What is called gaslighting, right? And so, for instance, like let's say the female has an issue or problem, finances or whatever. What happens is the male person keeps telling that person over and over and over again what they want to tell them to believe, even though it's not the truth. And then eventually that person gives up trying to fight that and says, obviously that must be the truth. That's what gaslighting is. It's constantly putting propaganda out there, and believe me, or the people that put it out there, they know it's not true. They don't believe it either, but they know it's power. It's a way to control people, is eventually get them to believe to where they think it's truth. That's the sole purpose of gaslighting, is to change your mind from the truth and fall into our narrative where we can control you.
Kind of great like word. The media does us. I mean, and you got to really be careful where you're getting your news information from, because right. I'm just telling you, they'll use sound bites and tell you that they didn't even report that, and then they did the whole thing with, oh my goodness, with Joe Biden being president for the past 3 years. It's like, and this is where I fault Kamala. Okay, so Kamala was just, no, everybody, you didn't see that. That didn't really happen with Joe Biden. That's not true now. Trump and his people are lying, because I'm with Joe, and Joe is just this really smart, brilliant mind. We're hearing that from her, Nancy Pelosi, and everybody else who's a Democrat. We're hearing that constantly. When we knew what was happening. I mean, you could not see that. You know what I mean? How could you not see it? I mean, and then this is another thing. Okay, so my grandmother had dementia. Okay, right. So we knew it. We were with her all the time, so we could see it. Other people didn't know that until it was more progressive, until she got really bad. And I mean, and we just didn't say it. I mean, it was just, but sometimes people would, my grandmother would say something that was just a little bit out of her character. And sometimes people would just kind of look and then like, oh, I didn't really hear that. And nobody was trying to gaslight anybody. It's just that we were with her all the time. So we knew she had dementia. So
Right.
You can't tell me that Kamala and all these people who were with Joe Biden all the time didn't notice it when we did.
Oh, of course they do. The people that live what I would consider a normal structural life, where they're individuals, right? I take my individual freedom first over collective, even, your public life, your, involved in your county, whatever, even in your church, right? So when I go to church, great example. When I go to church and somebody says, oh, did you know that, blah, 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 right? Well, what's supposed to happen is we're supposed to go, oh, I trust that person. I go to church with them and I'm supposed to believe it instantly. Well, even though you didn't see it. But here's the thing. You can see Biden. You can see it. So why in God's name would you listen to anybody, and I agree with you, that says there's nothing wrong with it? When you can actually listen to, you can see his reactions, you can see it's a absolute physical, using your eyeballs, seeing it. Unless all the video's fake, which we know it's not, right? That's you. If you don't believe that, there's really something wrong with you. You're deranged. You're just totally deranged.
However, the word is out there that Trump actually faked the whole event, the shooting event.
Oh yeah.
How could that be? That makes zero sense.
It's the left side is so evil. I want you to think imagine the number of people that are in that administration that watches everything that goes on through the media, through whatever happens, and then they have to work on spinning that information up into their narrative, right? Where if you had a great administration, right, for a great example, as soon as this happened, you're talking thousands, tens of thousands of people seeing this, right? If it was fake, they would be going, oh, no, this never happened. But we know it did. Mm-hmm. So if you had a great administration that believed in the truth, instantly the president, once he heard that, would have went to the public and denounced what happened instantly. But that's not how they are. They got to spin it. They got to put it in their narrative first before. Why do you think Kamala Harris is not showing up for media and answering questions? Because she doesn't have to. They just spin it all up behind her. They don't need her to put the narrative. They got plenty of media people to do it. So she can do just like Biden, go hide somewhere, some basement, and
run for elected and be the next Perez. Okay, so I'm really interested in what you have to say because I value your opinion. Okay, so there's going to be a debate coming up between President Trump and Kamala Harris. And how do you think that's going to fare?
Well, first off, I'm still not convinced yet that it's going to happen. Just so you know, I'm from Missouri, per se. Show me.
Show me.
Here's why I say that, because Harris and the vice president to be, if they get elected, is going to interview Harris. A lot of people don't know that, but it's true. CNN, I think it's CNN, is going to hold an interview of Harris by Waltz. So think about that. That's it. That's the only two people involved in it. It's, and they want to think this is like a debate, right? Mm-hmm. That is going to happen. So if that does happen before, and they get the results that they want, they're not going to get on stage with Donald Trump. Donald Trump will absolutely destroy this woman. She won't even be able to handle it. She'll giggle one too many times, and that's it. It's over. She has no professional demeanor whatsoever. Could you imagine the impact, what this woman has done, going to all these other countries and acting the way that she does? So it's real simple. Imagine you're the vice president or some ambassador in a country, and you met with Kamala Harris and you dealt with her and you listened to her and, her childish, ways, which she's acts like a child. And then she leaves. Can you imagine all these people coming together going, holy snikes, what in God's name has happened to America? This is what's happening in the background. You know it. Let me tell you how I know. I know people in other countries, people that come on my podcast from different countries, and they get the feedback from their citizens that have watched that, and they're just distraught at how she has destroyed. People say, well, Biden didn't. No, Biden can't put a pair of pants on by himself. But Kamala Harris can destroy a nation in 4 years just by being there. And that's exactly what she's done.
I'm just going to have to tell you, I love Sky News. Sky News is on top of everything. I mean, they're constantly talking about the same things you're talking about right now. Yeah. They have no reason to hold back on anything. I mean, there it is. Okay. Here's another form of gaslighting. Okay. Which what's bringing along with the topic that you're on right now. Okay. So everybody that has any kind of a pea brain in their head whatsoever knows that Trump is the one who came up with the idea about no taxes on tips. Okay, so now Kamala is going out there. Now, when he said it, this is why I'm saying, even if you're listening to the liberal news, when Trump said it, they were all against it. The liberal news media, everybody on the Democrat side, and some stupid Republicans as well. Okay, who just didn't, they think it wouldn't be a good idea and all this kind of stuff. So now that I call her copycat Kamala. So now that copycat Kamala has come up with the idea, it's a good thing. So what's the difference between him saying it and it's a bad thing? Now she says it and that's a good thing. Explain that. Is that not a form of gaslighting?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's insane. The flip-flop thing has been around in politics for years. This guy says this, and they flip it over here going, oh, no, I'm the one that actually said it. I'm the one that says, and this is what they do. Have you seen the new commercial that Kamala Harris put out?
No.
Starts off with Billy Graham, and then they're interviewing Trump, and Trump is, I don't know what conference they're at, but they asked Trump whether or not he believes that God, put him in the office. This is, when he was getting ready to run for office in 2015. Mm-hmm. And he was saying, well, I don't know if it was God, all that kind of stuff. They took that and twisted it so that they can try to tell the religious population that Trump doesn't believe in God. Mm-hmm. And that's crap, but this is how evil they are. And fortunately, Billy Graham's son, Frank Graham, right? Mm-hmm. He jumped right on top of it and just destroyed Kamala over that. But they don't care. See, the damage is already done. And politicians, when they get damaged, then they try to figure out a way to fix it. Mm-hmm. Right? Well, this specific incident is not something that Donald Trump can fix because it's already happened. And it's not affecting an administration. It may be affecting his campaign per se, right? Mm-hmm. But the only thing he can say is it's fake news.
Okay, let's talk about green screens and backgrounds and stuff like that. Okay. So you and I are both in radio and television, and we do podcasts and all those things. And so, we have used green screens before, which is not, this is a real background here, and yours is a real background right there. but there you can use a green screen. And because you and I are in the business, I can tell a green screen a mile off.
Sure.
Where most people can't. Okay, so now they are pretending that Kamala is having these huge events. They're like all over the country, what have you. But the background's being manipulated. I mean, if you'll look, you don't even have to look close. If you'll look, you're going to see two-headed people. You're going to see people with 3 arms. You're going to see all this stuff in there that is nowhere near the truth. But people who are not paying attention will think, wow, she's getting all these big crowds, and she's not. These are fake backgrounds.
Oh yeah, technology is just amazing.
Well, I'm not worried about AI anymore. When I first heard about AI, I was like, oh my God, the things they can do. Well, if that's the best they can do, it's not that good, I don't think.
Well, it's part of AI, but so for instance, when you look as they span, right?
Yeah.
They have it set up where so you have to imagine they got the auditorium. So they got the initial with nobody in it type thing.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then they use computer imagery, and they take a group of people with they got to have those people because they're the ones holding the signs up for her, right? So they make them all, when they come into this stadium or wherever they come in, and make them all go into, right, come together, crowd together. Then they capture that. And if you look at some of these that they're talking about where they have 10,000 people, whatever, it's kind of funny. Okay, wait a minute. There's there's a whole bunch of twins there. They're all the same people over and over. I mean, if you know what to look for, you can see it.
And they just put different hair on them. Like there's one woman, it was like 5 of her. Well, you could tell it was the same person. And what they did had different hair color. One, she had a cap on. I mean, it was just, you could see it's the same woman, 5 different pictures of this same woman and they've manipulated the hair.
It's incredible.
I mean, I wasn't looking for it. I swear to God, I was not looking for it. Okay, so you remember when I think it was a Trump, and he was running. It was the first time Trump was running against Hillary, and so Stacey Abrams was the one who spoke on the Democrat side. After that, you could even go back and look at it. You can see she was speaking, of course, on behalf of the Democrats. So you can see behind her, it was a manipulation of people there too, because if you'll just notice, if you'll look, every 5 seconds, these people had the very same mannerism. Like you could see one guy scratching his ear. So every 5 seconds, he's scratching his ear.
Scratching his ear again. Yeah.
Come on, that's not true. That's a fake. And you could see like they would clap at the same time, whether there was nothing every few seconds, whether there was something to clap at or not. I mean, it was like, it was the same expression. It was the same thing over and over again. And no one questioned it. And I don't think you've got to be a podcaster to notice that.
Right. Well, the one thing that I'm still convinced of, I haven't been taken off the bus of this, is throughout history, our politicians, 99% of them have been voted on what their plan is, what their policies are going to be. Mm-hmm. And even though we have this technology and manipulation of video, the bottom line is, what are you going to do? So it doesn't matter that they screen the audience where Kamala is. The focal point is her. What is she saying? Even if she did have 10,000 real people, the question is, what is she putting across, right? And that's important. So, for instance, she had Waltz, her VP candidate, and they're both up at this podium. And for a fact there wasn't 10,000 people there because the clapping sound not even close to 10,000. Mm-hmm. And she just kept saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, it's just over and over and over. Thank you. And, and I'm just going, if you can't get it, if you don't understand,
be a better faith than that.
That's what I'm saying. At least go get some training, which a lot of politicians do, right? On how to stand in front of somebody and lie your brains out, and they convince, I'm telling you, for me, it's not that, they're a Democrat party or whatever. What it is to me is she is just not capable, and she never has been capable of being in that political realm. And it's really kind of sad, because you would think that our political world has the gumption and should train this person to be able to be a better politician, but they didn't. She's just she is the real deal. She's not fake as far as who she is. This is who she is. She is letting it out. And I imagine, just think about this real quick. Imagine the Democrat people in her administration, and she starts talking, they're going, oh, geez. Oh, God.
I can't believe she just said that. We trained her to do better than that. Yeah. We trained her.
Unless they're just as stupid as she is.
Well, it's got to be what it is. Okay, so let's pretend we're in the real world, okay? And you're an employer, and I'm a potential employee, and you're interviewing me. Okay, what if you saw on my resume looks really, really good, that that I worked for ABC company doing the exact same job that you're looking to hire for. Okay, so let's pretend that. But then I'm dumb enough, I'm giggling throughout the entire process of the interview, and I even let you know how I failed in that job. Actually, the resume was like a lie. Would you be likely to hire me?
No, absolutely not.
I would stand.
I learned my lesson early.
Adios.
Yeah. I learned my lesson early as a supervisor, having to hire people very early. I mean, in my late 30s, right? Reading resumes and going, wow, right? And then you bring them in and you listen to them, you ask the basic questions, and they go, oh, yeah. So then you hire them. Then they come in, they don't even come close to matching their resume. So this is what I do now. Now, if I hire somebody and I read that resume and they go, oh, they're outstanding according to the piece of paper, I challenge that. I tell them, give me examples of a project that you did here. And, what success, what about finance, all that kind of stuff. And they go, yeah. See ya. So,
there are some things you can pick up on when somebody is lying, which is also a form of gaslighting. Yeah. We keep going back to this over and over, but it's so true. So am I true in saying this? Okay, when we elect people, we are hiring them. Isn't that the way it is? So where should the power be? Us or them?
Are you still in the same country as me? I just wanted to ask, have you not realized that that's virtually does not exist anymore?
Yeah.
I'm being serious here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really being serious. You could probably count on two hands, really, the representatives and senators that have exactly what you're talking about. They feel in their heart, I'm here to represent the people. And Tommy Tuberfield is a great example of that. I believe it in my heart because I talked to him. He's been on my podcast, and I believe what he says. He supported and, was a great patriot of Alabama for years, coach and so forth. But he's a great example. He pushed and pushed and pushed this swamp in D.C. with them wanting to, promote these generals, and all of these people they were trying to promote were woke people, leftists, extreme woke people. And he said, ain't going to happen. And he did that for time after time. He was representing us, and he did it over and over again. But eventually he had to get to a point where he had to compromise, right? So he had to work with the Democrats and say, okay, let's do this. We'll split them up. You pick one, I'll pick one. You pick that kind of thing. And that's the only way he was able to solve the problem. But he fought and fought and fought for us, for the veterans, especially for the veterans. Because if you're in the military, you don't want, a woke general running your command. You don't. So you have to think about what you're saying. Are we really voting for people that care, or are we voting for the next person to replace that person? And that's 99% of the time, that's what it is. The good old boy elite network, not only in federal, but also in state. Even people in state are getting elected based upon their little network. And real citizens that really want to make change are not coming to get elected or trying to get elected. When's the last time you've seen a pipe fitter get elected to, a state representative spot? Virtually doesn't exist. Why not? That's probably one of the greatest patriots there. He worked his butt off and,
I agree. Somebody who started at the bottom, worked their way up. It's kind of an amazing person to me. J.D. Vance. Yeah. I mean, what better? And then they're trying to cripple him. And this guy really worked really hard. That nothing was given to him that I would think anything was given to this guy. He just came in and just worked it all. I mean, we've got to go into a commercial break, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang in there because I got a few more questions I need to ask you. So we'll be right back.
Okay.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters, even if it hurts. I would rather you tell me the truth. I really would. Don't feed me a bunch of nonsense, because then don't prep me up when I don't need to be, okay? So let's all work hard, and let's go out there and vote, first of all. We all need to do this. And I'm going to talk to people who go to church. Do you know how many I've heard who don't vote? It's total nonsense. You're part of the problem. You're part of the problem if you're not voting. I have Bud with me right now, Cornwell. And by the way, thank you so much for your service. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you very much for that. We appreciate that. Fortunately, I live in Alabama and I get to hear it all the time, which is awesome. But when I lived in other places in DC, hardly ever heard it. So it's you gotta support the veteran.
You do.
You may not support what the government does in sending the war, but this person fought for you, did what they had to do by the orders of the government. So you can't blame that person, right? You blame the government, but you praise the person that went out there and put their life on the line. So absolutely.
And I make sure every time I see one of you guys out there with your cap on, with whatever service that you honor.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I always thank them. Absolutely.
Well, think about this. Next year will be 50 years since the end of the Vietnam War. And of course, I remember it as a young teenager and stuff, when it was happening. So it's just crazy.
Well, those same people who were spitting on our veterans when they were coming home, they're in office now.
Absolutely. That's what I was fixing to say. These are the people that hated veterans, and some of them were veterans. And I'm trying to think of his name, the environmentalist dude. I'll think of him in a minute. But anyway, he was a lieutenant in the Navy in Vietnam. And when he came home, he started protesting and talking in front of Congress and all of that. And he became a big politician. And
the catch-up man, the Heinz man.
No. Who's the guy that ran against Bush? John Kerry. That's his name. Yeah, John Kerry. Yes, he was a veteran, but he turned coattail on the veterans, and this is what we're dealing with.
Jane Fonda, Hanoi Jane. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I just can't believe that. I remember, I guess I was about 9 years old or something. We were going to church we were going to, and the pastor's son-in-law went to war, and he came back. I remember when he came back, and man, we gave him, showered him with all kinds of, we had this big get together. Food was all over the place, and people were celebrating him, what he did. And he was when he came back, you could tell he was changed. He wasn't as vibrant as he used to be.
Absolutely. He
tried to cover it up, but you could just tell. And it not only affects their life, it affects their family. It affects the wife, the spouse. It affects the kids. It affects everybody in that family.
Well, think about it. Even today, and there's, the VA can't figure it out. The psychologists can't figure it out. We're still, 20 to 22 people a day, veterans a day, are committing suicide every day. Just think about that. It's insane. What they have done to this country. These veterans have no more hope. They're so distraught at what our country has turned into, and then they go back and you think about, we think about what we're involved in and what happened to us, and we're thinking, I'm here for a reason. I'm here to support my country, my way of life, and all that. And then I come back, and all this stuff is changing. How am I supposed to deal with that? How am I supposed to deal internally going, I got injured or I got shot at, I had to kill people. And then I come back here and now I got a country that's going off in, what I call Satanville, right? And our Constitution, our way of life is being destroyed. It's what I fought for. It's very hard on us. Very hard on us.
I know it is. But I want to ask you another question. This is about the border. Okay. I think, I don't know that you could turn that around. If anybody can do it, Trump can. But it's going to be a hard go. And so even in my area, and you and I have discussed this before, it used to be, sanctuary cities were New York, Chicago, all these places, the big, big cities. But now they're dropping them off here in the town, just the very next town up from us is Albertville, and there's another one called Boaz. And so charter buses have been bringing Haitians in, and they're claiming that they're to work at the chicken houses and things like that here. But here's the problem. They say they're picking them up and they're dropping them off at work. But I've never taken a suitcase with me to work. I don't want to live there. I mean, when I would go to work somewhere, I was always ready to come back home. You never caught me bringing in. I had a briefcase, but it was not a suitcase. And then another thing that's being noticed by the regular citizens are finally waking up, and they're finally noticing what's happening around them. Another thing our citizens are noticing in Boaz and Albertville is it's not the same people. It's different groups of people being put on these charter buses, supposedly being taken to work. So how did we get to that point?
If you notice, I've lived here for 5 years. Until recently, I'd say the last 6 months or so, you never seen people walking on the interstates.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see them all the time, and you know they're not citizens. You know, you can tell they're not specifically from our county per se. But anyway, all right, here's the good news. Some of you might not like what I'm going to say because you're thinking I'm gaslighting you, but I'm not. All right, the system of, you know, sending people back to their country has always been in place, right? So deportation is what it's called. Mm-hmm. That process has been happening for, you know, probably hundreds of years in this country. So it's ingrained. The issue is that process was stopped by the administration. Mm-hmm. Okay. Not only was the process stopped, but the border was open all at the same time. So they're saying, well, how can we fix this problem? It's really simple. You close the border, you re-engage the process, you give the power back to the people to clean up their states. And they will do it. Even if the federal government doesn't do it, they will do it because they have the power. They've always had the power to deport migrants, illegal aliens from their state. Mm-hmm. It's in the Constitution. Now, is it going to take time? Yes. Did it take time for, 20 million people across the border? Yes, obviously. But it can be reversed. It may take longer time than 4 years. But the point is, if we can just give back the power. Now, what will have to happen is the states and the federal government are going to have to hire more people in that process because they're going to be processing a whole lot more people than normal.
I got a question.
Yep.
How about all of these people who are working for the IRS who have been hired? Could we put them in that capacity instead?
Most of them won't do it because the ones that they're hiring are leftists. They're people that are 100% government. They hate the people. They hate the country.
Yeah, I would never have one of those people do it.
I wouldn't have, no. Here's what you need. Taxes. What you need is, and I know a couple of Border Patrol guys. I know a supervisor that was in San Diego, the border from Tijuana across. He was in charge of that. Mm-hmm. And he retired. He's been on my podcast a couple of times. And this is what he says. He says, it's real simple. There's great Border Patrol agents out there, great ones. And their family, their friends have been let go so that they can get, these controlled people, basically, right? So all you got to do is reach back out to all those Border Patrol agents, real Border Patrol agents, and go, give me a list of people that you trust that could do this job. And within 2 or 3 months, we're right back to full Border Patrol protection. Guarantee you. It's not, if you think about the people, right? This needs to be done by the people. Hell with the government. Let the people do this. Go to the state and say, okay, I closed the border. Now go and fix it.
Mhm.
All right, sir, I got it. Leave me alone. Go do it. Every state's going to do it different, but they will do it. The ones who won't is going to be the leftist blue states that still like, sanctuary and all that. Good. Go for it.
Who was it a few years ago?
Have at it. I ain't moving to New York anyway. So
You remember the wrestler Ventura? I think it was him, and he was running for office up north. And I remember one of the things he said. This is back before it got as bad as it is now. He said, "Why if we let those agents give them a commission for everyone that they send back? give them $25 or something for each one that goes back, in addition to what they're already making."
Yep, Jesse Ventura. He was the governor of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, Minnesota. No way he'd get elected today.
No way. But I thought that was a great idea. Pay them a commission. I promise you for the ones that didn't come across the border.
Absolutely.
But we're going to have to use our imaginations and come up with something. I mean, it's got to be, because right now we're spending money on stupid stuff. I mean, just plain stupid. I mean, okay, so we're paying people, and I think this is a total insult to people like my daughter-in-law. My daughter-in-law is from Russia. She's an American citizen. This is such an insult, okay, where she does everything it takes to become an American citizen. She's not getting a kickback from anything, no money for food, no money to get her clothes clean, no hotel, no nothing like that. Of course, she was brought here when she was 9 years old. But my point is to the people that came in the right way, it's a total insult to keep giving out all this money to people who are illegal when you have veterans and you have old people. You have people who are making Social Security. They paid into the system their entire lives almost. I know my grandparents worked, when they were 10 years old. I mean, I'm talking about people who are really young. They have worked their entire lives. And somebody decides to come in the wrong way, and we're rewarding them for some reason.
It's incredible. It's just, I don't know. What really gets me is how in the world was the administration able to take our money, our tax money, and you're talking about an immigrant comes into America and they're making in their pocket free. They didn't work for it whatsoever. 2 and 3 times more money than a retired citizen on Social Security.
Tax-free.
It's insanity. But these people don't care. And I keep telling them, you have to understand, and you got to tell people that that are liberals and go, you need to wake up. They don't care at all about you whatsoever. It's all power and it's all control. And you saying, well, they don't have power and control. Well, wait a minute. I just told you they're giving illegal aliens tons of money and hotel rooms for free. And you're telling me they have no power and control? Of course they do. They cannot rationalize to understand that the government don't care about you. They care about them, the power. And then what happens is, and everybody must understand this, when we get full-blown communism, there's no more elections as we know it. It won't happen. You're going to have the same thing they have in China, where you have the mass party that they have, the CCP, ingrained in all the states, just like China. These are the people that run for office, and you can't get elected unless you're part of that group, that communist group. And if you speak against the government or do anything against the government, they are going to kill you. I don't care if you make $350,000 a year or you're on welfare. If you fight against this government, once they have full power and control, you are dead. It's been proven through history. We are at that point. And we must understand that. We must do everything, speak, vote, talk to people to say, okay, we understand. Now let's act and let's do things. And believe it or not, there's millions of people that are actually finally even Democrats. Now, I'm not talking leftist Democrats. I'm talking about moderate Democrats. Has been Democrats for years that knows that the government is out of control. That is doing everything we can. If, for whatever reason, which I don't want to believe, that Donald Trump does not get elected president, I don't see a way out.
I don't either.
I don't see a way to correct this country. We are gone. It's over.
But you know something? If Christians would vote, if all you just do is get the group of Christians to vote, there's a huge. Think about the last election we had here in the state of Alabama. It was under 20% of the people who voted.
It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. Well, there's a reason behind that. Okay. Obviously, Alabama is heavy conservative. We know that. Our legislator, our governor, legislation, we have major in both House and the Senate. So what happens is people get complacent and say, well, I don't have to vote because, they're going to get elected. It's okay. What they don't understand is what is called popular vote. Popular vote is the total amount of citizens that vote in America. So what happens is that, think about what I'm telling you. You have election night or election day. People are going to be watching this. There is tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people that watch the election and they see what's happening. Because see, they want to vote for a winner. They don't want to be a loser. So as the votes come out, if Harris is, smidget ahead of Trump, they're going to go vote for Harris, even though they wouldn't in the first place. But if Trump was leading, they would go vote for Trump. You think I'm crazy? I know people that do that. They don't want to vote for a loser. So they go out and watch it. And this is what changes a lot of the votes going in there is what is the results looking like?
I think that's the dumbest attitude on earth to have.
There's I think hundreds of thousands of people that do it. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Well, for one thing, I don't blame just Democrats.
No,
I blame Republicans as well, because you remember the debate between Mitt Romney and Obama. You remember that one? The first one, Romney knocked down the ballpark. He did a great job on that first one. So they have another debate, and I'm just going to tell you, Obama was the dumbest debate ever, other than what we just had. With Joe Biden. Then the next one, it was almost like whoever controls the elite told Romney to now hold back. Now we got to let Obama look good. Okay, he's got to be the first black president. You got to hold back. So the next one, Romney's looking like the dumbest person on earth. It's like it was reversed, but they can't do that to Trump. You can't tell him, don't do that, Trump. Don't do that. Because, he's going to do it. And that's what I love about him. To me, his tweets were not mean. For goodness sakes, I would love to have a mean tweet right now. He doesn't go by the good old boy network and what they tell him to do. He's
not part of the swamp.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole swamp wants him gone. It's not just the Democrats.
And this is Alabama politics. Okay, right. If folks in Alabama were doing what they were supposed to do, first of all, Common Core wouldn't be here. Yep. And another thing about Alabama, we wouldn't have all of these illegal aliens coming in. I'm just telling you, it's over. I don't know where you live, but it's overwhelming here. The banks are full of illegals, people trying to get their checks or whatever they're trying to do. You can't walk into a bank in Albertville without it being overdriven by illegals. You go shopping. That's why I don't even like to shop in those areas anymore. And they'll run over you. You better be careful when you're driving. Make sure you got your insurance up. They drive as if they're in their country.
Well, not only that, they're getting a driver's license and they're probably, just passing them just, to meet the requirement or whatever. And a lot of these people never drove a car in their life. You know, they're coming from
obvious. It's very obvious.
It's very obvious, you know. And I hate to say this, but it's the truth. An idiot can get a driver's license. The test is ridiculous. It's just, what does this sign look like? What does that look like? You know, and then you go in a driver's test, right? And they bring you around a couple blocks and you go park, right? You never put up against decision-making situations, right?
What would you do if this happened?
If this, right. That's what they need. They need to put stuff in there to where you have to study to understand.
Well, that's the way it used to be. I had
great example.
The hard way.
I'm in the left lane. It's a 2-lane road, and I'm going to turn left, right? And this truck's going to turn left. So both lanes can turn left. And if you're not careful, you're going to pull out too far, and that truck is going to run into you because you're not realizing that truck needs a whole lot of room to turn. So this is what I do. I did this at 75 and 431 intersection.
Oh, that's a bad one. Yeah.
There was a truck sitting right there. And you know what happens? These guys come up and they pull ahead of the white line. So you got no room. So what I had to do is I'm like, I'm not even going to try it. I just waited until the truck completely turned. And then I went. Because I knew he was there and I knew he would need that space to turn. That's situational awareness. But you got to be experienced to know that, to do that. That would,
I can't
help me avoid an accident, right? Oh, yeah.
The times I've almost been hit. So this is what I do. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but you got a 4-way stop. I'm not going to assume that the person coming this way is going to stop. Okay, so I'm going to wait until they do stop. Then I'll go on because I don't know how many times I've almost been hit, but I'm stopped. I don't go on because, again, they're going to go right on, and look at you like you're the one who's doing something wrong. So yeah, I mean, it takes a bit of experience by almost getting hit a few times and you'll get it. But if you're from another country, and because I've been to other countries before, I've been to Mexico, I've been to Africa, I'm just going to tell you, both sides of the road are their road. I mean, there's no stopping it. Go to Puerto Rico. I mean, they drive crazy there. I mean, it's just I don't know how many accidents I almost saw there. So, first of all, we've got laws for a reason, especially when it comes to driving, and those need to be obeyed. And that's I'm just going to tell you. My stepfather, who passed away a few years ago, my mother and stepfather were involved at a wreck at Walmart in Boaz. And the guy hit them. It was an illegal. He hit them. He jumps out of the car and runs away.
Sure he does.
That kind of tells me he might be illegal. So there's common sense approaches that we need to have.
I just got to tell you my experience. I was in Addis Ababa.
Okay, we got about a minute left in this.
Real quick. I was in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. They have no blacktop roads. It's all dirt. And like you're talking about, they go everywhere. There's no, here's this lane going that way. I mean, it's insane. But they know how to do it. They make it through there.
Well, you know what Phil always says? He says the right of way is what the other driver gives you.
Exactly.
Because it is the right of way does not necessarily mean. Gunny, it's so good to be with you today. Thank you so much for being with me on the show. I'm going to see you in 2 more weeks.
Absolutely. Love being on the show.
And thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for watching. And you can find Gunny and me both at the Newscaster Studio. So go ahead and check that out as well. And again, thank you so much for watching. You make my day. Send emails to Donna@donnasedge.com. Be talking to you a little bit later. Gunny, hang around. Make sure we got the right date, okay?
Okay.